gotta fight to win. Fight to win. Fight to win. I'ma say it again. You gotta fight to win. Fight to win. It ain't over till it's over. It's about to begin. I'm so dedicated.
Good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made. Thank you for joining and tuning in to Endie Fiya's Monday Motivation. This is your man Causso, the My Struggle is My Strength motivational speaker. I hope that everyone is well. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I hope you're wearing your mask. And if you're protesting, please stay safe. Stay safe. It's dangerous out there. Stay safe. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Endie Fiya for giving me this opportunity to speak. You can tune in to her show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for music, entertainment news, and daily inspiration for everyone. You can go to Blog Talk Radio /Endie Fiya. That's ENDIE. Fiya is FIYA. And check it out and tell her Causso sent you. We kicked off our trauma series discussing traumatic isolation. And we discussed how isolation can be lonely and empty, and how we develop coping mechanisms to normalize ourselves to escape from the isolation, and they also make us feel better or help us deal with the isolation. However, you must realize that being in this place or season or in the dark room of isolation is the incubator for personal development. And last week in our series, in our traumatic change, in our trauma series, we subset it with traumatic change. We talked about when we would get back to everything being normal again. However, it wasn't normal that we desired to go back to. It's the familiarity that everybody wants. We also discovered that the only thing that changes is change. And that change can also be traumatic, especially sudden change, right? So we can combat this by accepting change and embracing it. Then we also can create a plan of action for your life. This week in our trauma series, we will be subsetting it with the title called Post-Traumatic Growth, or PTG. Now, I believe it's necessary to establish from the beginning what trauma really is, because we know that there's big traumas and there's also little traumas. But trauma is really any experience that a person has gone through that they perceive as painful, confusing, troubling or distressing. And although that experience itself is done and over with, having gone through that experience has a tendency to still, affect that person. It has a tendency to still linger around, even if some time has passed, and maybe if several years has passed. Now, let's be clear. I'm not just talking about the trauma that you get when the police pulls up behind your car, because I'm sure that everyone has had this terrifying experience, especially when you see those lights in your mirror. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm more so talking about the trauma that you receive from a doctor regarding a terminal diagnosis, or even the trauma that came from COVID-19. And whenever you have this experience, you tend to think that your life is over with, right? And you think that it's the end of the world. But what I discovered is that even when we have such a hard and laborious trauma, it's not a life sentence. The central element of trauma is resilience. Now, resilience is persisting in the face of changes, and it's your ability to navigate through the turbulence and rebound back to your normal state of being. So we actually can use trauma as a launching pad where we can thrive and we can grow and we can live more meaningful lives afterwards, right? So now, post-traumatic growth, there's a significance as it pertains to trauma, and I'm sure that everyone has heard or knows about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. but I don't think there's many people that know or have heard about post-traumatic growth, PTG. Post-traumatic growth is a positive change or a transformation following a traumatic event or a struggle from a major crisis. Now, that person that experiences the trauma not only bounces back, but they grow. And growing is contingent upon your perspective and your ability to believe in a better future. You know, George Bonanno, a psychology professor, he interviewed over 600 children that had endured the worst possible situations imaginable. He discovered that many of those children that experienced the worst situations came out with the most emotional stability and a sense of connectivity. Now, these kids had a growth mindset. And Carol Dweck, it's hard to pronounce her name, but she's a psychologist, and she's known for her research on the mindsets as well. And she says that people, they either have a growth mindset or they have a fixed mindset. And individuals with a growth mindset, they believe that they can develop skills, they can do some kind of physical activity or workout or make some kind of mental or positive change to better themselves after a traumatic event. So, you know, this is the formula. What you believe dictates your actions, and those actions lead to growth, right? So if you believe you can grow and you believe that things can change, then you're more likely to take action. And as good as that sounds, you and I both know that believing is not enough, right? You know, faith without works is dead. You have to put in the work. I mean, you literally like gotta grind it out, and we know that that's going to take some time, and that's going to take some energy, and it's definitely going to take some patience. However, the belief that you can grow provides the fuel. So the question becomes, how do we build this belief? And there are 3 ways to do that. And, you know, number 1, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. If you believe you can grow, you have to believe that things can change. And if you have this belief, then that is the start. You know, you're more likely to start the process, and you may not be good when you first start, you know, but you possess the power to change that with practice and with patience and, you know, with diligence. Number two, you have to build. You know, like remember how you learned your ABCs? You learn it through repetition. You know, you learn it through patience. You learn it through doing it over and over and over again. And that's how you build. You know, the more you do it, the more you become better, and you build stamina. And, you know, also think about building a support team or a support system. You know, this is something that I found out to be extremely helpful when I was going through my traumatic situation. Number 3, you have to learn new things. This is how you renew your mind. You have to feed your mind new information. You have to find information. You have to research information. You have to learn new things. You know, whether that's reading new material, whatever your way may be, but you have to learn new things. So as we're recapping, post-traumatic growth, it is a positive change following a traumatic event from a major crisis, but that person not only bounces back, they grow, and their growing is contingent upon their belief and ability, or it's contingent upon their ability to believe in a better person or for a better future. So point number 1, the thing that we all can develop is maintaining the belief that we can grow despite the trauma and all of our challenges that come our way. Number 2, We can get better through repetition and consistency. Number three, we have to renew our minds by feeding it new information. All right. Next week, we will be starting a new series. So I'm super excited about that. And this series is called Head First. Head First. You want to tune in next week to hear week 1 of our Head First series. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I want everybody to have a great week. You can follow me on IG, MS_is_MS. This is your man, Causso. And remember, guys, saving lives starts with you.